Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. And now, here's Jeff Crilley.
Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. This has been a fast hour. We're going to end the show with a segment that touches my heart. I had the privilege of going to see their facility. Lon Ricker is with me now. He is the Chief Development Officer at the American Fallen Soldiers Project. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you having me here.
Okay, now what really impresses me about this is this nonprofit really grew very organically. It wasn't like Phil and Lisa Taylor set out to create this big nonprofit, but it's happened. Why don't you share with the audience what it is that you do?
All right. Well, exactly as you said, this was not a plan at all. Back in 2007, one of Phil's friends was killed in Iraq, serving over there, and they attended the funeral and saw the family, and Phil just wanted to do something for them. And so being an artist and a painter, he painted a portrait of their son, Blake Taylor, and gave that to the family. And the response that he received was not what he was expecting. Blake's father called and said, for the first time, we feel like we have Blake home with us again. And that's when he realized there was more to it than that, and he and Lisa decided that they needed to do this on an ongoing basis. So they started painting portraits. He hand paints portraits of fallen soldiers and then presents them to the families as a way to honor them and to help them with their healing.
Talk about the growth of the project since it started. How many requests do you get? How many are you able to fulfill?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are still soldiers dying in action, and so we get requests nearly daily. Since 2007, he has painted over 220 portraits of fallen soldiers. And in addition to painting them, a big part of it is the presentation to the families. And so Lisa works very closely with the families, and they may be small, intimate gatherings with the family and friends, all the way up to large stadiums with 20,000 people or more. Again, it was a way of honoring the family and the sacrifice being made, but also honoring those that are currently serving for us, to remind everybody that we love what they're doing and we want to support them as well.
Talk about the magic of a portrait, because pictures are very realistic, and certainly a picture can touch someone's heart. But there's something special about these portraits, isn't there?
There is, and it's tough to describe on the radio, but the way Phil paints them, he really brings the picture to life. And he typically saves the color in the portrait for the eyes. And so that when you're looking at the portrait, you're seeing the person, the individual. You're not just seeing a picture or a painting. And he'll get that, as some of the parents say, he'll get that special little smirk or the look in their eyes. Or so when the families are looking at these, they're just like, oh my God, that was the way he used to hold his smile or whatever. And he just does an amazing job of capturing that. So again, it's not just a picture hanging on the wall. They actually tell us that they feel like they have their son or their daughter there home with them.
And since you've had a chance to kind of be around this creativity and this ministry, does Phil put a lot of pressure on himself, saying, I have got to get this right?
Enormous pressure. When he is painting, when he's working on a painting, the door to his studio is closed, or he's painting at his home studio. There was one day I needed to reach out to him about something and texted him and said, hey, I need to talk when you have a chance. And I got a text back, working on the eyes, talk later. But he will paint a portrait, and if he's not happy with it, he'll paint over it or start over. There's a number of times where it's not good enough. If he doesn't feel that it's going to bring that soldier home, he's not going to be happy with it. He is definitely a perfectionist with his art, and that's why it makes such the impact it does. It's not like, oh, that's close enough, it looks like him. It's, nope, we're going to redo it until it's right.
And you've had the privilege of being there at some of these ceremonies. Why don't you describe for the audience what that's like?
Well, I've actually known of Phil and Lisa for a number of years before I came on board there, and they will present these portraits with full military honors. There will be bagpipes. There will be colored guard processions. The portraits are guarded by military until they're revealed. The family does not know what picture Phil is going to use to paint. So when the portrait is revealed at the event, that's also the first time that they ever see it. So there is that sense of kind of, anticipation, and then the awe and the wonder when he pulls that portrait out of the box and displays that for them to see for the first time. Full honors, again, it's all about the families, and they will be attended by some pretty major people, but we focus on the families and honor them.
Are there typically tears?
Yes. Yeah, they're for everybody. We also show a video of the soldier, and hopefully with, as they were growing up in their lives and their military service and everything, we want to introduce that soldier to everybody that's there. And so it's a very, very, very heartwarming. I don't think that there's anybody that could ever attend one and not feel that and probably have tears.
You just have a new gallery now in Addison, and I had the privilege of seeing it a couple days ago. Why don't you describe that? And what are the hours? Can people come in off the street?
Yes, and we're open Monday to Friday from 10 to 5. We are in Addison. The address is on our website. We've opened the gallery, and we have reproductions of the portraits because the original portrait is presented to the family. Mm-hmm. We also present reproductions to all of the family members, and those are all gifts free of charge. So at the gallery, we have reproductions on the walls of many of the portraits that we've done, so the community, so the country can come in and visit to help us, again, to honor the families, to honor those that have made the sacrifice, but also for our returning service members to come in and visit. We have bios of all the portraits. We have displays of things that from the families and from other soldiers serving, things that help us remember, kind of bring each of the people that are on our walls to life. So it's not a place where people come in and they're bummed or down. It's more a celebration of their life. So we want people to come and help us celebrate and enjoy.
The website is AmericanFallenSoldiers.com, and you mentioned earlier that you have many more requests than you have the ability to present portraits to those people. So how can people get involved? What do you need right now?
We have a number of ways. Today, people could pull out their phone right now, and they could make a donation by texting the letters AFS to 50155. We also have a honor brick campaign going on for our Walk of Honor. We're going to have pavers in front of the gallery where they'll be inscribed with names in memory of or in honor of, so people can purchase and sponsor bricks to be out in that. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so everything is tax deductible, but we do count on those donations to help us to do these portraits for these families.
I've known you for a while now. You always seem drawn to the coolest nonprofits. The homelessness, people who are in need. What was it about this nonprofit that really touched your heart?
Well, as I said, I've seen portrait presentations in the past and loved the fact that they were honoring the families of the fallen soldiers who sometimes may be forgotten. But then I got to know Phil and Lisa and their hearts. And as you said right from the beginning, this wasn't something that Phil said, I want to do this to get famous. They did this for the right reasons, and then they realized the impact that they could have. And as Phil has said in the video that we have of him, if he didn't do it, it would be wrong. Lisa loves on the families. We fly them in for the portrait presentations and take care of all of those arrangements. So I feel honored to be able to help them reach more people and grow this mission, with the gallery being able to bring more people in, raising awareness, education, and even patriotism. So really, I'm blessed to be able to be a part of their mission.
Let's talk about plans for the future. You mentioned the Walk of Honor. What are some other things that are in the works?
Well, we are going to have displays with each portrait where we will have memorabilia and things about each of the soldiers. We also want to work on an app where we use some beacon technology in the proximity. So when people walk up to a portrait, the picture will pop up on their phone. But also we have Phil writing stories about each of the portraits that we have displayed, and then we're going to make him record his story about each of those. So as our guests come through the gallery, it's almost like they're getting a personal tour from the artist himself. And it might be where he presented the portrait at the Battleship Missouri, or it might be about the family that he's gotten to know, or about the soldier from his research while he was painting it and kind of, getting into their self. So it'll be real cool. We also have some larger sponsorship opportunities. If there's companies that want to have their name associated with this, we're welcome to talk to them and see what we can do there.
Let's talk about where the money goes, because I think these days there are so many nonprofits, and people always wonder when they get out their checkbook, well, how much of this is actually going to the mission?
Right. Well, as I said, when we paint these portraits and give them to the families, we will also provide them and all the rest of the family members reproductions of each of the portraits for the brothers and sisters. The money we also, and that's all gift to the families. If the families contact us and say that a building in their town or a wing of their school is going to be dedicated in honor of the soldier, we will send them framed reproductions of the portrait. So that's where the money goes. Now with the gallery, obviously, we're going to keep the lights on and be able to bring more people in, bring in school groups and things like that. So
when people are going through the gallery for the first time, what's their reaction?
At first, when everybody walks in and they see those portraits, they're stunned by how lifelike they are. We show a little video called "The Brush of Honor" that gives a history of the program and shows what it means to the families. So then they can gain that. There's usually a few tears during that, but then they realize that we are celebrating their lives. I'm honored to have given tours to a number of people that have served and come in. And I even have a friend that was in Vietnam, and he's never shared any of the stories with me. But once he came through, while he was reading the bios and looking at the pictures, he started to open up and to share some of the stories from his experiences. And we see that healing, and that's really what we want to do. We have returning veterans that will come in and share stories. They will see a portrait on the wall of somebody they served with. And it's an opportunity for them to open up a little bit, because they know that we understand and that we care and we're not going to judge them in any way. And so it's really been a blessing to have the families that visit of portraits we've presented to hear their stories and what it's meant to have that portrait hanging on their wall of their house has just been some pretty amazing opportunities and times.
I know that sometimes when people work around a certain mission for a while, there's a little fatigue. They get numb to it. But Phil and Lisa, I mean, every single portrait, it's almost like the first.
It is. They put everything into it. And like I say, Lisa loves on the families and coordinates all of that travel. And shortly after we opened, we had a family from Houston drive up to the gallery, and they showed up at 12:30 on Friday. Phil and Lisa happened to be there at the gallery in the office, and basically all work stopped. The family was our top priority, and they stayed for 4 hours while we laughed and we cried, and they shared stories, and it was just, and yeah, it would, that soldier and that family were our top priority for that afternoon. And that's the way they treat everybody.
Obviously, there are dozens of wonderful nonprofits in this space, in the veteran space. Let's talk about why this is so important in terms of the healing process.
Well, you're right. There are a lot of great agencies, and we partner with many of them, and we refer people to them. They refer people to us. As I said, we're honoring the families and helping with their healing. And quite often, especially the parents, they're forgotten. Not to sound harsh, but if you or I had a spouse, die in battle, we may fall in love again and remarry. But mom and dad, they're not going to be able to replace their son or their daughter. And so we want to honor them with these portraits, and we want to remind America the sacrifice that they have made. And as I said, even the returning veterans, to be able to come back and spend some time and to understand what we're doing. We have a number of gifts that they have given to Phil and Lisa to say, thank you for what you've done to remember my fallen brother or sister. And so we hope that it's all part of their healing as well, and just to let everybody know that we care, and there are people that care and that are very, very appreciative.
And this is a labor of love for you, too. I know I don't pretend to know what you make, but you didn't do this to get rich.
No, definitely not. As you know, I dropped out of the corporate world after 20 years before I started working with nonprofits. But I can honestly say I am happier than I've ever been in my life. The opportunity to serve. I wasn't in the military, but this is now my way of serving. But oh yeah, I'm blessed. I'll have people thanking me for taking a donation, and I'll have people thanking me for helping with the gallery, and I'm the one that's thanking all of them because I get to be a part of that.
Thank you so much, Lon Ricker, and the website again, AmericanFallenSoldiers.com.
Thanks, Jeff.
We're out of time. We'll see you next week.